When you're ready to pop the question, the last thing you want to do is second-guess the ring. At BlueNile.com, you can design a one-of-a-kind ring with the ease and convenience of shopping online. Choose your diamond and setting. When you find the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Go to BlueNile.com and use promo code WELCOME to get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. That's code WELCOME at BlueNile.com for $50 off your purchase. BlueNile.com, code WELCOME.
Looking for a fun way to win 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/play100 and use code PLAY100. That's code PLAY100 at prizepicks.com/play100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the Ranks FC podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to a special Ranks FC drop. It is your favourite football podcast here on the main feed on a Friday. A Friday? What momentous occasion could have sparked that, I hear you wonder? Well, you'll know something's immediately wrong because this is your host, Sam Tighe, and not Jack Collins. Joining me, of course, is Dean Jones. I'm not on my own. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
How you doing?
I'm okay, yeah. I'm ready for this. This is a short, sharp, brilliant episode. I just know it.
It is. And I've decided to can the silly nicknames for today, given Jack's not here for us, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, perfect. But I think we should introduce our guest, and he can have his official title. It is the Ranks MLS correspondent and de facto chief writer of the company, Owen Murray. Owen, good to have you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Very well, thank you, mate. Very well. Owen's here to preview the MLS Cup Final with us, and Owen's been writing some great pieces on MLS. Well, basically since about the middle of summer, hasn't it? Since you've popped up in our DMs and asking to be published, and I think some great pieces made all the better by some superb sub-editing by an unnamed member of this podcast, and well, it's time to debate and time to preview the very biggest game in MLS calendar. And Owen, the first question here is LAFC, Philadelphia Union. Is it the perfect final?
I mean, so this is the first time since 2003 that we've had 2 number 1 seeds in the final. Really, really often what happens, and it's kind of the beauty of MLS, is that you get teams that maybe weren't like your traditional champions in the regular season. But when that does happen, it's just going to be like one of the most incredible tactical matchups that you can see, right? So you've got Philadelphia, they've got, goalkeeper of the year, coach of the year, and just like this all around absolute machine. And they've got this narrative of losing the final or the conference final last year to NYCFC with this dubious COVID infested, like part of their lineup got taken out to COVID. And then it's like they're back. They conquered that team in NYCFC, and they're here with this team that's just so much better than last year. And then from LAFC, you have this team that has been, ever since they've been in the league, almost every year they've been at the very top, but they've kind of had like that Man City-ish vibe where they can't compete here in October. They always seem to fall apart, right? They absolutely steamroll the regular season, and in any traditional league they would be like, yeah, they're the best team, but they haven't been able to do it here in what makes the MLS Cup playoffs so chaotic. But given they finally got here, they can show that talent.
Yeah, that's been bugging you for years, hasn't it, Dean? Bugging you for years.
Yeah, it has, but I wonder if this would happen in like the Premier League. Like, I wonder which team. I wonder if Man City would be able to handle the tension of like the playoffs, because we see like obviously you've done it in like domestic cups, but they can't do it in the Champions League. And I wonder like if how different things might have been if they like win the like regular season stuff, like get the supporters shield, whatever, to Pep slot, and then see if they can handle getting the Premier League Cup over the line. Not sure. Don't know. Like, let's try it one day. But yeah, obviously it's been a problem for LAFC, but more pressure than ever on this team. Obviously, you can't sign Chiellini and Gareth Bale in the same season and not be expected to go on and actually win everything. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit and their roles that are likely or not likely to be happening in this match. But also just to throw again, like, everyone, like Owen has been doing a great job for us, and I'm really glad to have you here today with us, mate. You've become an important member of the rank squad, and yeah, I think we're going to hear more and more of you as the time goes on. So no pressure, but like this is going to be a massive episode.
Well, he's woken up. He woken up very, very early to speak to us today. We can see out his window. Yeah, it's still dark. It's still dark. It's very, very early on the West Coast, so appreciate it. And I mean, it's a great parallel you draw there between sort of LAFC there and Manchester City. I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but it works really well. But we're going to start with the Philadelphia Union, and we've asked Owen to prepare 3 reasons as to why the Philadelphia Union should be excited and believe that they can win this final. Let's go in a classic ranks 3, 2, 1, if you can, Owen, and kick us off with number 3.
Yeah, of course. So kind of the number 3 point, right, is that LAFC haven't really played a team yet that have the variety and quality of attackers that Philadelphia have. They've played the Galaxy, for reference, who they beat 3-2 with this just absolutely wild finish. And then they played Austin, and both of those teams kind of have their offenses built around 1 or 2 players. Austin obviously have Fagundes and Driussi, and then LA obviously have like Chicharito. So those teams, while they're very, very, very good, LAFC have the quality in defense to stifle that one player. Like, they're set up to do that, and then they can really, really work around that.
Yeah, Driussi was like completely marked out of the game, wasn't he, in the conference final? They just couldn't get in the ball, and as a result, there was just nothing happening for Austin.
Exactly right. But for Philadelphia, if LAFC managed to do that for their Driussi, Daniel Gazdag, who, I mean, he had a ridiculous regular season. He had 22 goals, 6 assists. He was in the MVP race till the very end. If you didn't see, Hani Mukhtar did end up winning that over Andre Blake as well. But they have this incredible depth in attack. They have Julian Carranza, who came from this incredible dry spell with Inter Miami, who they signed him kind of as their big striker. He was their guy, and then he had 3 goals, 0 assists in 2 seasons with them.
Ouch.
Yeah. He came to Philadelphia, right? He came to Philadelphia and 14 goals, 6 assists, like straight off the bat, his first season here. And it's just, he's really, really fit in. He has, they play a front 2. It's kind of a 4-1-2-1-2 with Mikel Ure, who 13 goals, 3 assists. Like, that duality in attack, they can't compare with any other team that LFC have played.
Yeah.
They have, the players off the bench too.
Carranza was a weird one. Wasn't he on loan or something? And then they had to like make him permanent in order to actually play against what would have been his parent club on the day.
Yeah, I think it was a weird situation like that, because they have some weird rules in MLS about like whether you can play versus your parent club. Because there's like a surprising like lack of loans that happen, honestly. Like players almost always are brought in on permanent. So when those do happen, these like weird rules get pulled up.
Yeah, that is definitely a massive difference, isn't it? But yeah, it works. Well,
we'll see if LAFC can contain all 3 or 4 of them. I guess they've had to play them against the regular season, but so far in the playoffs they've been able to focus on one player, whereas this time it's different.
Yeah. Moving on to number 2, it's the classic MLS playoffs. It's all about form. Philadelphia are in form. They hadn't lost since early August going into this. LAFC lost 5 of their last 7, and they hadn't won in 6 of their last 8. they've won 2 games on the bounce, but it's really, really tough to maintain that kind of form, especially like we always say in America that the playoffs are based on form. Teams so often, I see it with the Sounders all the time, we like almost tank our season until like July, and then we'll pick it up and we'll just win out, and then you just carry that strength into the playoffs, and you'll beat teams who you shouldn't beat. LAFC have been relying on their talent, obviously, but they don't have that form. Versus Philadelphia, they were locked into this chase for the Supporters Shield that like they just were rolling out wins. They had like 2 6-0 wins in a row in August. Over one team, DC United, they're not great, and then they beat another very good team, and so they have that form that they can just like they can keep going, and it's that quintessential MLS playoffs. If you're in form, you can beat anybody, right?
Absolutely. Well, this lack of form for LAFC has been giving Dean kittens towards the end of the campaign. You can see from the way that the number 1 seeds have ended up in the final that seeding is very important. And yes, obviously LAFC wanted this Supporters Shield. They really wanted that trophy, but they also wanted to make sure they locked everything up. And Austin were like on their trail for a bit when they was like, well, hang on a minute, what's going to happen here? Dean, you were very worried about this.
There's just a difference in resting your players at key times too, and like that stuff all comes into it, and like making sure that who's fit when, and like when do you drop people out, and it is a different type of squad management, I think, in MLS than you get in most other leagues. And I think that from a European point of view, like sometimes I find it hard to get my head around. But look, I think it's fair to say that, like, on form, like, Union probably do have the edge in this one. And that's probably the thing that is worrying me the most, even though Owen hasn't put that as the number 1 reason. So I'm actually quite intrigued here just to know what is a bigger pull for Union to win this game other than this amazing form that they've been in.
It's Andre Blake. It's Andre. The
answer is always Andre Blake.
It's always Andre Blake. So he was snubbed of the MVP award, dubiously. Yeah. But he is the league's best goalkeeper. He was in the regular season 97th percentile save percentage, 99th percentile for goals against, 99th percentile clean sheet percentage. Just ridiculous numbers. And then he came into the playoffs and did it there too. Cincinnati, which have this team that a lot like Philadelphia, have this like really multifaceted attack. They have Brenner, they have Brendan Vasquez. They managed to just absolutely stifle them in this game, and they won it 1-0. They won on 1 goal, and Blake was the X factor there. And then again versus NYCFC, this team that a lot like Manchester City, they want the ball a lot like LAFC, and so they had like over 60% possession and 0.6 xG through the game. And Philadelphia, NYCFC scored first, and then they absolutely could not do anything, which is what I'm worried about. Like, LAFC could score first in this game, and I don't know that they would get a second, because Philadelphia have the ability to just absolutely stem that drive and just take away the momentum that a team can get. And Andre Blake is just a huge part of that.
Yeah, I'm imagining that for opposition teams, games against Philadelphia Union feel incredibly long. Because even like usually the first goal in this sport is an absolutely massive swing because it's such a low scoring sport. And yet really the Union kind of stick it out there for a long time and make you work for it. And even going 1-0 down in NYCFC in the playoffs, that for me felt like it should have been curtains as I was watching the highlights through in the morning. It happened at a ludicrous time in the UK, Owen, a bit like how what looks like outside your window right now. And looking through, and I was like, oh my God, they've gone up. This is going to be it. And no, the relentless Union machine there just carry on going. And Blake's made some amazing saves in the playoffs as well against Cincinnati as well as the regular season. So it's the conversation when it comes to the Union almost always falls back to a point where it is just talking about Andre Blake. And that's not to say they don't have a very solid back line. They have some great players. You've listed the attackers. We haven't talked about like Kai Wagner, for example, who's been hugely important from left back. I mean, he even kind of supposedly nearly joined Leeds in the summer, like he was talked about in Premier League transfer context. There's some really good players here, but it all comes back to Andre Blake, Dean, and your boys are going to have to figure out a way past him.
They will, though. They will. Like this.
Here we go.
As I'm sure we're going to get onto in a minute. Like, this is the most unbelievable attacking, well, quartet, whatever you want to call them, once you rotate them, like the LAFC have got at their disposal. And I'll let Owen explain all that a bit. I'm sure I don't even know what his 3 reasons are going to be for LAFC to win this game, but obviously their attack is a massive strength. Like, I think that just generally, like, people probably wonder, like, well, why am I always so pro LAFC? And like, what has happened here? Like, why is this my thing? And like, I've always found like MLS like reasonably hard to follow, obviously, but like in recent years, like we've had more games shown in the UK than ever, and things like that. And obviously, my wife, I met her in LA and stuff, and so we go to LA a lot. And so when LAFC started to be born, I kept an eye on it, like a really close eye on it. And like, so it was like 2014, they were formed, and literally just watched them build this stadium out of nowhere. And like, it was like live cams. And I remember just keeping an eye on it, thinking, oh, I hope this is as good as the design for it is going to be. And, so really, really followed it closely. I'd never been drawn to Galaxy, like, even though that like Beckham played for them and stuff. I went and watched Beckham at Galaxy. I interviewed him at Galaxy, and I just never loved it. And going to the first LAFC game, honestly, an unbelievable experience. Somebody the other day was asking me like how they get into MLS because they couldn't, and I was like, you kind of need to go. To be honest, like it's obviously you can't just pop to like LA for the day from London, but I guess you could if you've got enough money. But but if you are ever in a city that has a decent MLS team, or at least an MLS followed team, then go, because like honestly, like it totally like caught me by surprise how good the vibe was around LA for this team. And like the 32-52, like whoever came up with this concept is just a genius. And, the 3,252 fans behind that goal make the most unbelievable racket. And like, they're so in sync with their chanting. And obviously they really, really play on the whole Mexican vibe of LA. And like, they love this team. Anyway, so all of this stuff, like, just drew me in. And anytime I'm there, I obviously go and watch them. And, I think people probably have mocked me for it a lot, like saying, "Oh, you can't be that into it." But honestly, I really do get that into it when I go and watch LA. And now they should have won it by now. Like, they should have won it by now. They've had opportunities in unbelievable seasons before, and they should have won it. I'm a bit scared because they're at home here, and that to play a final at home with the squad that they've got. This is it. Like, I'm worried. Like, if LAFC don't win it this year, I'm like, how long am I actually going to have to wait to see this happen? Because this feels like a defining moment. Owen, I'm going to throw it to you on the back of that, because I need you to reassure me that my LAFC are actually going to get this over the line and get the job done. So come on.
Yeah, 3 reasons, Owen.
Yeah. All right, number 3, right? Philadelphia aren't going to have their captain for this game, probably, most likely.
Great.
Ali Bedoya,
great
like
start.
This,
It's a great start.
He's this veteran in the league, and he's just one of those midfielders. He starts in one of the wide spots, in the 4-1-2-1-2. And he's just got like he's got like that Conte level of just like endurance, and he just runs and runs and runs and runs. He's a big part because Carranza starts on the right of their 2 in the strike partnership with Ure usually, and then he will just like absolutely motor down that right wing, because he and the right back take up a lot of that space. And it's just, when he came out in that game for this academy talent, Jack McGlynn, he came out the same academy as Brendan Aronson, all that, and he's this fantastic on the ball player, but he didn't have the same level of endurance on that side of the midfield that they really need, especially to cover for the right back when he goes up. And so having him out, especially like his leadership as well, is just this huge miss for Philadelphia. When this huge game, they've cleared this incredible emotional hurdle, and now they have to clear the next one without their captain.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That really is lovely.
I mean, Philly have waited. They've waited a year for this, right? Because of the contentious conference final loss last year with NYCFC. Obviously, as you mentioned at the top, really the the COVID issue that wiped out some of the squad. They've waited a long time to get back to this. There's been a real relentlessness to them. You can see that in their play and their wins and their results in order to get back here to set the record right. And to have to go and play this game away from home when I think they probably expected this to be at their stadium. We sort of expected them to win the Supporters' Shield and have the wins total, and therefore this would be in Philadelphia. That's not happening. And then to have to walk out without Alejandro Bedoya leading you is really tough. That's a genuine deficit to overcome right from the start. So I think it's a very fair point.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's really no match. Kind of in the second point, LAFC have the best player on the field on his day. Like Carlos Vela, we know what he can do. On his day, he clears everything that Union can do. Like, I understand Andre Blake is incredible. I think Carlos Vela is better. Some of the stuff I've seen him do against the Sounders is just like absolutely jaw drop. It's heartbreaking sometimes, man. And like, if he shows up, like they win the game, right? But it almost doesn't matter, because in those years past, like 2019, they went to the conference final, they lost to Seattle 3-1. They shut down Vela, and they really had no one else. I mean, they had Rossi, but he wasn't as good as these guys they have supporting him now. They have Denise Boanga, they have Christian Arango, they have Jose Cifuentes, Opoku. They signed Bale in the summer, and so they have almost like Philadelphia, not to the same level of quality, but they have these guys who can support Vela, so he doesn't have to be like the man. It's like Messi, right? Going to PSG, he's got that pressure off his shoulders, where instead of being relied upon to score the goals, make the assists, everything, create this attack, he's the sprinkles on top.
Yeah, he's a magic man. Like, he's, what he's capable of is absolutely ridiculous. And like, obviously, I'm pleased that he's still at the club. Like, there's definitely been times in the past where I was like, oh, he's kind of playing too well. Like, a European team is going to take another chance on him. Like, he could crack it if he found the right team in Europe to thrive in. But he's stuck to it in LA, and probably just stay there now, I imagine. But this is a massive game for him, and he is the kind of player that I trust in big occasions. I trust to deal with pressure. I think he might even thrive on the pressure of this game, to be honest. Obviously had an injury that would have frustrated him and certainly frustrated the club, that to have him out for such a long time and stuff. But now here he is, like, coming back into a match like this. And even, as you say, with like Bale and Chiellini and these such huge stars globally, in MLS is Vela.
Yeah, on Vela and then subsequently on Bale. I mean, Vela, midway through this season, his contract actually was set to expire, and we got to about 3 days before the expiry date, and he still hadn't signed one. It was like either at the end of July or end of August, I forget which. And everyone was like, what's going on? Why hasn't Carlos Vela signed a deal that at least gets him to the end of the season? And they eventually figured it out and sorted it out, and that was great. But there was a lot of uncertainty around that at that time. And this was also around the same time that they were signing, Chiellini and Vela, because it was the summer window that came open. Sorry, Chiellini and Bale. And Owen, a question for you, really, because a lot of people that will be listening more casually will know that Gareth Bale went to LAFC, may not know that he's been extremely ineffective. And can you just put into words like exactly what's happened there?
I mean, it's almost been like they don't need him. They signed him as this player who can like come in and just improve their attack even further, but they knew they had a good attack. Like, they weren't signing him to be that centerpiece. So, I mean, he's played 12 games. He's come off the bench a lot. Just 2 goals, 0 assists, right? So on the surface, not a fantastic return from a player they signed in July. But it's almost like he's just there to come on the field late in games and just absolutely run at defenses. Like, this is a league a little bit lower quality, where, if you have a player of Bale's level coming on at the end, even as he is 33 years old and running at these guys, it's just, it will absolutely wreak havoc. And that's kind of why they signed him. Just, in these close games when it's late and you've got your Velas he's come off a lot early, and you can bring this guy on the right wing who's just will absolutely terrorize the left back who's been dealing with Carlos Vela and Cifuentes and Arango for 70 plus minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this might be that how he feels most comfortable after the end of his time at Real Madrid. Maybe they just want to continue making him feel like this is his home now, just watching football and occasionally appearing on the pitch.
He
But
doesn't
look,
start games. No,
he's done it in Champions League finals. Like, he gets a chance in this MLS Cup final. I think I would be willing to count on him to somehow cut the big moment. This is what Bale does now at this stage of his career. Like, we can see, like, he's obviously gone there to prepare for the World Cup. Barely played, but the climate has obviously been a big part of Bale taking this move and preparing himself for what's to come in Qatar. But yeah, we'll see. If Vela doesn't come up trumps, it's not a bad replacement to have to throw on for the last 15 minutes or whatever. But come on, Owen, throw it at me. What is the main reason I should believe that LAFC are going to get this done?
I mean, it's the closest of all the things between Philadelphia and Los Angeles, right? It's the atmosphere. Like you talked about, the 32-52. The fact that this was decided on the wins tiebreaker just makes it so important to this game. They've got this stadium where it'll be packed. We've seen it before. They show up for big games, like you guys were talking about with Anfield, right? These guys show up for big games.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere is just, it's electric. The chants have, honestly, they've the drums, you can hear them all around the United States. Genuinely, our school drumline wrote a cadence based on their drums for our football games, and it made it to our high school football games.
Awesome. That's amazing.
It's just, I hate to say it, they've got an incredible supporters group, and just that level of support to walk out into that in like the biggest game of so many of these players' careers is. It's invaluable to have that on your side, right?
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm going to throw something into the equation here too, which I've been wondering why this is the case, but maybe like, this game is being played in LA at lunchtime. Like, I mean, it's 8 o'clock here, so I'm guessing, it's like a midday kickoff or something. Why does this game just take place when it's going to be like, I don't know, 75 degrees or something? I'm guessing it'll be like that again. Like, surely that is in LA's favor, but why would this game be played at that time of day?
I mean, part of it is this desire to have it in the middle of the day where you can kind of have it be a festivity, and it's not quite. They don't do that thing where you have it at night almost. Like MLS Cup in Seattle was at maybe like 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
It was the same thing, right? So everybody got to the game at like 11. It was on a Saturday. And so it's maybe born out of this desire to not do it before the East Coast is settling down there's stuff like Saturday night college football.
Yeah.
Actually, a huge point is at 6:30 or sorry, not on 6:30, but like that night, right? There's
another game,
USC football.
I saw this. There's no parking. Oh my God.
There's no parking.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I suppose is probably born out of the fact that this USC game has been scheduled since they scheduled college football, and at the start of the year, nobody knew there was going to be an MLS Cup final in LA, right? So it's kind of nuts that they share the same parking lot and that's happened, but there's not going to be any parking. They've got kind of this early game, hopefully maybe to avoid kind of the traffic there, and also just they this 2:30 game, and then everybody's out by maybe like 5:30 or 6:30, depends on if they win or not.
And what you're saying to me is it's basically the tailgate culture is so strong. They just want to get involved in that. They just want to make a day of it. And fair enough, 22,000 people are going to be in that stadium, packed out. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be made even better for the fact that they can make, a 6, 7, 8 hour festivity out of it, as you describe it. And that's going to be important as well, I think, for LAFC. It's a shame about the heat, and it is something that the union, I guess, maybe need to react to. But this is what LAFC and Austin played in on Saturday. It's the conference final was the same. It was a midday.
Whether that was the thing that meant that Austin just couldn't get going, I doubt that was it. Like, it's not 100 degrees like that. It's like unbearable. But I just think it's another factor that goes in LA's favor here. I'm very confident. I'm very confident of this.
You were terrified about 10 minutes ago. I must have done a real number on you there for the confidence.
Owen's done such a good job there of just helping me out.
it's time to make our predictions, guys. And I think Owen we'll lead off with you so I can copy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really, really happy with Philadelphia's kind of ability to match up against this team. It was the same as they played against NYCFC, a team that they want the ball, and they're not exactly worried about that. They're not scared of it. And like I said, I think LAFC can score the first goal here, and it won't do that much damage. And then we saw Philadelphia, like their attack is just so devastating on the break. Like if LAFC switch off for 2 minutes, Philadelphia have like 2 or 3 goals. So I'm gonna go 2-1 to Philadelphia.
Okay, Dean, balance us out.
I'm going 3-2 LA. 3-2. What's it going?
I'm the tiebreaker.
Hat trick.
I'm the tiebreaker, and as we know, it's this will decide MLS Cup Final. What I say now, 3-2 Philadelphia. How's that? Absolute chaos ball in MLS once again to round off an amazing season. One that I've really embraced for the first time. As and Dean, you know, I got really bored over the summer with no tournament. I started watching it. I really enjoyed it. The key and the trick with MLS is simply to accept it for what it is and not judge it against what it is not. And all of a sudden, you'll be having an absolutely amazing time. So that's MLS and MLS Cup Final. You can consider yourself previewed by Ranks FC. Congratulations. Owen, thank you very much for joining us and getting us pumped up for this game.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. It's been a great experience. I'm going to go back to bed now.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
You deserve it, mate.
And thanks as well again for just all the excellent work that you've done on the Ranks website over the course of 2022, or the back half of it, at least on MLS. Absolutely amazing stuff. The next up for us, we'll be recording on Monday. We'll record our reaction to the weekend's action, including this cup final. And also we're going to wrap in the Champions League draw as well over on our Patreon postbox. It's another plug coming, guys. If you haven't given our Patreon a go yet, this is the perfect month and the perfect time actually to do it as well, given it's the start of the month. And on November the 20th, or from that point, we will go daily, covering the World Cup every single day. I know many of you over in the US or in other countries who work or study with regular hours might struggle to tune in for all 4 games a day. It's possible you might have other stuff on. So my suggestion to you would simply be to subscribe to the Ranks FC Patreon and let us tell you all about it every single day. How good would that be?
Be great.
Right.
We'll get Owen on before, maybe we'll get Owen on for England, US, just so he can balance it out a bit. We might get you back for that one, mate.
Okay, right. Dino, thanks to you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Good luck in the final. I'm pulling for you, but not really, because I also think that the Union were really hard done by last year, and this is owed to them.
Like, I can't deny this.
This is owed to them. And Rank Squad, we will see you next week.